Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Sharmini Perez coming to you from Baltimore. The Hong Kong protests, which began as protests to challenge the nominations process for the electoral candidates that would rule Hong Kong, is today continuing in various forms, some in the form of hunger strikes. Now joining us from Dunedin, New Zealand, to discuss all of this is Sean Staars. Sean is an assistant professor of international relations at City University of Hong Kong and research affiliate for the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Thank you so much for joining us, Sean.
Well, thank you for having me again.
So, Sean, bring us up to date on what's going on with the Hong Kong revolution, known as the Umbrella Revolution.
There's been many twists and turns over the past month or so, but clearly since the last week of November, the police have become increasingly heavy-handed in their tactics in trying to remove the sites. So the last week of November, they, over a few days, they successfully removed the Mong Kok occupation, which was across the harbor in Kowloon, one of the most densely populated and mainly working-class areas in the world. So that site has now been removed, although the occupation has kind of evolved to what they call Occupy Shopping. So every night there's 1,000 police officers today stationed in Mong Kok, but occupiers now go down there and are trying to disturb the normal shopping there by unfolding clothes and so on in the retail stores. So there's a hunger strike that started on December 1st. Joshua Wong, the leader of Scholarism, one of the main groups, he lasted 108 hours. Eddie lasted 120 hours, and Gloria Cheng is still on hunger strike right now. So there are 5 members of Scholarism. And then another group started another hunger strike, what they call a hunger relay. So members fast for 28 hours, and then they change. 28 of course, is in reference to September 28th, when the Hong Kong police used tear gas 87 times, unprecedented amount of tear gas in Hong Kong. So on November 30th, Sunday, the Hong Kong Federation of Students tried to escalate in the aftermath of the removal of the Mong Kok occupations. They tried to escalate and surround the government buildings, but the police used some of the most heavy-handed tactics so far, batons, pepper sprays, and they brought out a water gun first time. So there's a lot of internal divisions now in the movement, different groups. The Hong Kong Federation students keep changing their mind on whether they should pull back from Admiralty or not. Admiralty is the main occupation area. And the latest is CY Leung. He said on Sunday that he's expecting, quote, furious resistance, unquote, this Thursday as the police plan to hire Admiralty site. And Joshua Wong, head of Scholarism, he's recommended people to make homemade shields to protect themselves from the batons. So this could really come to a head this Thursday.
So, Sean, one of the major concerns that Occupy Central or Umbrella Revolution has is the nominations to the electoral process. Has this issue been addressed at all by Beijing or the administration in Hong Kong?
Not at all. The Beijing or the Hong Kong government has given zero leeway on point. But actually, so over in the second month, so we're now in day 72. Over the second month, numbers on the streets have been dwindling more and more. And this has kind of been a mixed blessing. This has meant that the radicals on the streets have now a larger voice. But over the past month, they've been able to change, or the certain elements in the occupation have been able to change the discourse to make the issue of inequality and indeed class consciousness more and more almost equally as important as universal suffrage. I hear the issue, certainly the issue of inequality, but also even class consciousness.
So, Sean, one of the more important points being made by this group and you earlier is this is not just about universal suffrage, it's much more than that. Right. Tell me or describe how that has transformed and has it gotten broader?
It's definitely gotten broader because a lot of the people on the streets, the number of people have dwindled. A lot of the moderates have sort of gone home. It's difficult to sleep on the streets for 2 months. The radicals have a disproportionately greater voice now. And so they've been able to change the discourse from universal suffrage to increasingly to inequality, the oligopolistic control of the tycoons, and also they've been able to delegitimize the Beijing government even, which is also new. So I mean, originally the target was solely the Hong Kong government, and in fact they explicitly said that they are not trying to challenge the authority of the Chinese Communist Party in Beijing. But now that is the CCP in Beijing, the central government, is increasingly becoming their primary target, as it's become clear over the past 2 months that the Hong Kong government are simply puppets of Beijing.
Now, one of the things that I read is that this nominations committee for the candidates is really about 1,200 people strong. It's a fairly large committee. One can almost assume or think of it in terms of a party conference, and a party then nominates the candidates. What's wrong with this process?
Most of the 1,200 members are business people, and certainly most of them are pro-Beijing. Also, Beijing still reserves the right to veto the candidates that the 1,200 member chooses. So they'll choose 2 to 3 candidates, and Beijing has the right to vet them.
All right, Sean, describe for us more how this movement is growing. It's despite the government's effort to shut it down using force, the movement itself is gaining momentum, and it's also diversifying in terms of the kind of issues they're speaking about. Describe what that is like, and how is the movement growing?
I wouldn't say growing if we're talking about sheer numbers, because certainly even though there are estimated 1,600 tents still in Admiralty, the numbers of people actually sleeping overnight is definitely dwindling, but it's evolving. So there are new groups being formed. At the end of November, there was a group of high school students. They call themselves Chaldea, so a combination of children and ideas. And they organized a very successful protest that got a lot of media attention on Sunday, November 30th. They walked around the Legislative Council 9 times barefoot, and every 28 knelt and prayed. So, which signifies September 28th, the day when the Hong Kong police fired tear gas 87 times. And they're trying to politicize further high school students. So then there's the hunger strike. So 5 students from Scholarism went on hunger strike. One is still fasting. And another group is forming a relay strike. Other like even journalists are filing complaints against police brutality, against the Independent Police Complaints Commission. And so there's really a lot of things going on in Hong Kong. It's not just the occupation anymore. Even a cantopop star, Denise Ho, is filing a complaint against police brutality.
I know one of the early efforts of the administration and the police was to try to isolate the movement and section it off so that it's not disrupting the center of economic activity in Hong Kong. Are they being successful?
Yes, especially since the end of November. So they've successfully cleared the occupations in all of Mongkok. And another is to clear a little part of the occupation at Admiralty around Citic Building. That was successful. And just yesterday, depending on the time difference, 2 days ago, they cleared part, about 1/5 or so of the occupation. No, less than 1/5, sorry. They cleared part of the occupation in Admiralty as well. And CY Leung is saying that this Thursday they're going to clear the whole thing.
And what are they doing to prepare for that?
Well, so they're bringing 3,000 police officers down on Thursday. CY Leung has said they're psychologically preparing for quote unquote furious resistance. And on the other side, Joshua Wong, leader of Scholarism, has recommended that people bring homemade shields, batons, because the Hong Kong police over the past 2 to 3 weeks have increasingly been beating protesters with batons.
Right. So, Sean, thank you so much for giving us this update, and we're going to continue our discussion in the form of analysis piece in the next segment.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.